All right, good day, hi, and welcome. World War III update again. Uh, oh, grab my granny glass. I got a whole bunch of new glasses over there that I got to show you that I got, but I'm gonna use my granny glasses for now. And yeah, so don't laugh at me because I know you guys would never laugh at me. But I did write some stuff down. This time I didn't forget the page. Uh, yeah, I guess I can't really let you guys look at that. Okay, so yeah, I wrote it on the back. We got some personal information on the back there. You didn't want to. Okay, so I think we're at, well, as of last night, attack number 62. Okay, and they killed there's all kinds of people getting killed. Like, you're not hearing about the Israeli losses because, the censorship. But, like the rumors now, like, according to some IDF people, like, it's like basically the IDF is running the country right now because everything's so in such chaos already. But basically, the national chief, security chief, Ali Haberjani, I probably butchered his name. But anyway, they killed him, and then of course there was a massive. They changed it from True Promise 4 to what was it? True. Where did they? I'll find it here. I got it somewhere. Was it True Promise? I wrote it down here. Yeah, it's like True Absolute Promise or something like that. So it's no longer True Promise 4, it's True Absolute Promise 4. Yeah. So they hit 9 bases, U.S. bases, and other things. It is confirmed. 7 tankers are down. So what I've been saying about the tankers, again, if you look at what the Iranians are hitting versus what the Americans are hitting, the Americans are hitting critical infrastructure, they're hitting important stuff, but they're not hitting anything that's really going to stop the war. The Iranians are hitting stuff that's going to stop the war. When you take out 7 tankers in 2 weeks, now Trump's playing it down, saying, "Oh well, no, they'll be back up and running in no time flat." But there's even if they're only down for a few days, that's a few days where you can't do airstrikes and stuff, right? Um, so there's that, and then the thing is that there's only so many tankers like worldwide. Like you'll listen to U.S. Navy pilots, not they like sorry, veteran pilot, any pilot, saying like basically the United States Air Force number one advantage is not aircraft carrier, it's tankers. You get rid of the tankers, then you're on an internal range or drop tanks, right? And at that, um, look, the air strikes are going on nightly, day and night, whatever. That, and we're not hearing everything, so we don't know how heavy the airstrikes are. But it does seem like the airstrikes have backed off a bit because for a couple of reasons. Number one, they've ran out of targets to hit that are and so they're basically hitting like delivery trucks. If it's a truck, they hit it. It's like, oh no, they're all rocket. They're not all rocket trucks. Like I say, goat cheese and hummus. So and they're just hitting anything that moves. So in other words, they're just genociding people at this point. They are hitting some drones, some missile launchers, stuff like that. They've claimed to have hit about like 300, almost 400 launchers, but there could be thousands of launchers, right? We don't know. The GBU 57s are running low. There wasn't that many to begin with, so those bunker penetrators they're running out. Again, nobody really knows what the stockpiles truly are. New stuff, old stuff, whatever. Like remember, these wars are all planned out. So this war is not planned to the detail. But the thing is they don't care who gets killed, like or if you destroy the world economy. They don't care. They have other objectives. They don't like the little guy is the guy that suffers, not the like. It doesn't matter how bad the economy gets for the world elites. They never, they never pay. Like they never pay the toll. But losing 7 tankers out of the 64 in the region, 2 tankers may have been Israeli, so maybe they only lost 5. It leaves you with 59, right? Out of the possibly like 110 tankers that the Americans have, right? And the big strato tankers, like there's not that many of those either, right? Plus, not only do you lose the tanker, like these tankers don't just, like they can only carry so much fuel because of the weight distributing, but they also are used as cargo aircraft too, right? So there's all that. Now there's footage out there of a C-17 getting blown up. I think it's AI though. I'm not saying they haven't hit it, but like if I wanted to have complete control over the Middle East, the first thing I'd be taking out is tankers. The aircraft carriers, yes, they make sense to take those out for sure, because that pretty much ends the war. You know what I mean? But if you take out the tankers first and the aircraft carriers last, my thinking is this, is that you get the opportunity to get the aircraft carrier when you take out the tankers, because like the aircraft carriers are like 1,000 miles off the coast. Like that's hardly just, like they're halfway out in the fucking Atlantic at this point. You know what I mean? You know, like it's like that's like I say, the U.S. does not have military hegemony anymore. Yes, they might have the best equipment, okay, but it's basically a World War II model, right? It's the ultimate version of the World War II model fighting machine, where everybody else is fighting asymmetrical warfare in the future with drones and shit like that. Like these drones, you have to understand, these drones, they fly like 1,000, 2,000 miles undetected across the Gulf. Like, I mean, like they're not like with a state of the art. And again, this is when you hear the like, you know, there's like a lot of American exceptionalists out there that are like, you know, we're unbeatable, blah, blah, blah. We got F-22s and so on. But look, these drones are making it 2,000 miles undetected, 1,000 miles undetected, right? They're and they basically, one pilot summed up, he goes, basically they're like a V2, a World War II downgraded V2 rocket from World War II, a buzz bomb with lawnmower engines instead of like the V1 rocket at least had you know, like what do you call it, the scramjet or whatever. No, scramjet. Basically the jet with no pulse jet or whatever, with no fans in it. Basically, you know, it was really simple. If you ever see how those things are, they're basically well, I forget what they call it. They're not rockets. They're still considered a jet because they have an intake, but they're just Venturi effects. Like there's no real throttle on them. It's just. But anyway, yeah, and they're right. They're barely more advanced than that, except for maybe they can navigate a bit better and whatever, and they probably give like I don't even know if these things are like radio guided or like how they're if they're just coordinates based. Like just GPS based, or if they're actually can radio guide them right into the target. I have a hunch they must be able to radio guide them into the target at the last leg, right? But yeah, so these things are not easy to detect, and bang for buck, like I say, $20,000 to $30,000 drone, if they even cost. I don't even think they cost that much. That's our estimates. I don't know if the Iranians have said how much these things cost. And everybody's scrambling to copy the Americans are trying to copy, but they don't have the drone stockpiles, and they're saying they might have as much as 80,000 of these things. Okay, that's not really the issue. The issue is that the Iranians, their claim, believe them, don't believe them, they are basically firing off these drones. They're replacing them faster than they can fire them. So maybe they can fire up to say 30 drones a day, but they're building 35 a day. So they get a stock, like a surplus. So they can pace themselves. Like if they can get 30 drones a day and only 2 or 3 get through a day, successfully, that's still phenomenal. But it's going to be more like 10 getting through, because they have the drones are about a 3 to 1. Like when you average it out, they have about a 3 to 1 kill ratio. So I mean, 1 in 3 drones is going to hit its target, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. Um, Again, the most effective battle weapon I think ever fielded, and it's low tech. You know, it's taking out multi-billion-dollar. Like I think the first 2 weeks is something like $50 billion war so far. Oh, yeah, can you imagine what it's going to be like by the year's end? Holy shit! Yeah, so that takes down 7 tankers for God knows how. So four are right off for sure. No, it's 9 tankers. Yeah, because the KC 135 and 146 were Israeli, so it's 9 tankers in the area that are out. I don't know how many tankers the Israelis have, but yeah, so that's 9. That is massive losses. That is like that's your strategy right there, going up in smoke. So yeah, so I talked about the national security chief basically getting killed, and yeah. Um, Tuzla train hits. What was that? Which train? It was a train yard hit in Saudi Arabia, I believe. Yeah. So once you start hitting trains, stuff, and something to keep in mind about these Gulf states, okay? Like these Gulf states, there's a lot of money there, okay? There's a lot of like the royal families of the Middle East. They spend their money on strange things that most countries would like say no. We're going to do this. Like for example, building like these tourist islands, in the Gulf and stuff like that. Half the time they get washed away by storms and stuff. Luxury hotels, which is big business for them. There's no doubt about that. They buy supercars and stuff like that. They don't really invest in their people, right? It's just like grandiose stuff. Like again, like the United Arab Emirates. Okay, well, we'll have the biggest airport in the world, and we'll basically, have the Airbus A380s as our main fleet. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that, which okay has its merits, right? It's a lot of wealth, but the thing is to maintain this stuff. A lot of the domestic populations in these countries do not have the skill levels to maintain this stuff, and they're heavily reliant on foreign technicians and stuff like that, which are like foreign workers, like in their tech sector and all that stuff. They're all leaving the country, and they're not going to be coming back, right? They're never coming back. Why? It's too dangerous of an area. And by the time they go to rebuild all this infrastructure that they've lost so far, like you're going to see an economic collapse in the Middle East no matter what, which is going to lead to an Arab Spring 2.0, all the bad stuff, another migrant crisis. Yeah, it's going to get really bad. I'll talk about the U.S. Embassy first. I know I'm not doing these in order, but because I want to leave the U.S. Gerald Ford to the last, or near the last. But the U.S. Embassy in Iraq, using the you've probably seen the CRAM footage versus the drones. Well, the embassy did get hit. Now, I don't know if they took out the CRAM or not, but again, the 3 drones, okay, you have to understand, when you see, again, you just see like it almost looks like a laser beam. There's like 30 rounds a second coming out of that sucker, right? Maybe more. Yeah, so basically, what is a CRAM? Well, there's the CWIZ, they call it all kinds of things. It's basically usually a 20 millimeter Vulcan cannon. Sometimes some of them are 25 millimeter, some of them are 50 cal, whatever. Basically, think of R2D2 with a minigun. That's the best way to describe I call them CWIZs or CRAM, whatever. But they put them on Humvees. They put them on, and again, there's various different sizes or whatever. But they put them on the top of the embassies to shoot down missiles, right? Basically, they shoot the Vulcan, or the 20 millimeter. I guess they're Spano rounds or whatever, 20 millimeter Browning or whatever. Basically, they shoot those to like shoot incoming cruise missiles or whatever, and you can see them Okay, you have to understand it's about $30 to $60 or $100 a round for this stuff, right? So 30 seconds, it's like $3,000 a second, right? 10 seconds, okay, that's like, you might only get 15 or 20 seconds of ammo there. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah, you got to replace it. So the first drone they shoot it, the second drone they smoke it, you watch it fall down. People, the third one hits, right? Like I say, the 1 and 3. Like it's not always 1 and 3, but if you averaged it out, it'd be 1 and 3. In this case, it was the third drone hit the embassy. Now that makes me think about another thing: the 2,200 or 3,000, 6,000, whatever soldiers is coming across from on the USS Annapolis or whatever, or Tripoli, sorry, the USS Tripoli, amphibious carrier, marine assault vehicle, ship there. Are they, again, because the thing is Trump is such a lunatic, right? That it's very possible that he has this grandiose idea that if I put my Marines on the ground, it'll be like Desert Storm and they'll overrun Cargo Island, which apparently I don't know if it was on Cargo Island, but the largest Iranian oil refinery just got taken out. So obviously you have to understand that's coming back the other way. So the Saudis, they just got hit again. Again, the entire oil of the Middle East is gone. Like it's gone for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years. There's going to be no rebuilding it. Like it's going to get pummeled to the ground, right? Like it took to steal the oil from Iraq took 19 years, 15 or 19 years before they saw a benefit from that, right? So like it's like we got all that oil from Maduro and from Venezuela. Yeah, none of that that's going to fight the war in the Middle East. It's going to Israel. It's like it's not going anywhere else. It's like the Americans have not seen an ounce of that oil for themselves, right? Yeah. Hence, you're going to get $10 gas. Why? Because Israel will get the oil before the Americans do. Mind you that like in Venezuela, there's already starting to be like uprisings and saboteur attacks against American assets there. Same thing in Cuba, right? The friendly takeover of Cuba. Yeah, you're starving out women and children. Yeah, that's like a real friendly takeover. Again, how did the United States turn from the reigning shining beacon of the world and then turned into the bad guys? Now, mind you, it's been coming for years. It's not just Trump. It's just Trump is the one that kind of pulls the mask off, right? But it was, every administration has been evil. It's just not to this fucking lunatic clown world level that we're seeing, right? Like Joe Biden was bad, okay? He was the worst president the United States had until Trump came along the second time around, which the irony is the best president the United States ever had, by the numbers, whether you like this or not, was Trump. So, like, how does he go from the best president to the worst president overall, right? And then Obama was bad. They were all bad. They're all evil. It's just right now the mask is off. And the thing is, this whole cheerleader, my guy can do no wrong and your guy can do no right mentality, that's what's dying, which is good. Because that means, you get rid of the crazy left, you get rid of the crazy right, and people start holding politicians to account in the future. Especially with the Epstein stuff. The left thinks this is all because of the Epstein stuff. No, this has been like this for decades, since the end of World War II, particularly since the end of North Korea, the first Korean War, right? Where it's just like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to just basically, have the new American century, and regime changes and whatever. Again, the United States has done, well, this will be, if they're successful in Iran and Cuba, there'll be 51 different regime changes. So they're at 49 for sure, right? Technically, if you count Maduro's regime change. But like, it's not really regime change when that government is still standing. You know what I mean? Maduro is just one guy. Like, it's the new lady. Yeah, she's putting up a resist. Of course, she was going to tell Trump what he wanted to hear. She didn't want to die, right? But no, they're getting ready for the round two with the Americans, and it'd be a while, I think, before he's distracted with the Israel thing, right? But anyway, yeah, the 2,200 soldiers. Okay. So listening to some veterans, here's what they're saying, especially veterans that served in those units. They're like, okay, these guys, yes, they're the door kickers. You send them in when you don't have a plan, right? So there's the first red flag right there. Okay, so it's like when you don't know what to do, you send these guys in. They'll make it up on the spot, but you get them to kick in the front door. So Carg Island, will these guys invade Carg Island? Well, they get slaughtered. They're basically, okay, well, we need to rally around the flag. Let's give the Americans their Dieppe moment, right? Because if I've explained the Dieppe raid, the Canadian Dieppe raid, one of the biggest blunders in history, which was most likely sacrificing our men to get Enigma code machine. Maybe they came up with that story after. So, okay, it was such a fuck up. We got to come up with something. Who knows? But it does seem that no, there was proof that we went after the Enigma code machine, but we landed our guys right against a fucking cliff. like 3,600 guys, 1,800 of them got killed, and the rest got taken prisoner by the Germans because we landed right out of fucking the Atlantic Wall, right? Even the Germans they didn't know what to do. They're not going to land here. This is an untakeable position. It's the cliffs of Dover. And I think it's like holy fuck. They're like, really? They're going to land here? Yeah. And our guys got fucked. But there's about 300 or 400 guys went to 2 different villages looking for this reported code Enigma code machine, which they missed it. They missed it that round. The Germans got wind of that, and they hauled out of there with it. Probably minutes before we got there. It was close. We almost got it, but we lost a lot of guys. So we need to rally around the flag. Let's get a bunch of Americans killed. And, there's a lot of Americans I'm against the war, oh, my guy got killed. America, we're going to go get it. And you got Americans that are like this. It's not very many of them, thank God, but that are just they're in there now. Anybody that doesn't support Trump's war and fighting, because we're fighting terrorists, you heard it with the Q people. It's we're against war. But when Trump killed Soleimani, oh, well, yeah, but Soleimani was the bad guy because when it's okay, Soleimani was the number one guy fighting ISIS, not Trump. Trump was not fighting ISIS. That was bullshit. I told you that was bullshit. Well, every time they say, I defeated ISIS. And it's yeah, well, who these fucking ISIS guys riding around Syria in the Toyotas there? They got the ISIS flags, they got their U.S. Humvees, they've got they're yeah, hello, we're ISIS, we're still around. Thanks for all the weapons you gave us. Fucking 2,300 Humvees and 70 tanks and again the luckiest terrorist group in human history. Oh wow, they found a fucking building in Syria full of tow missiles. When Syria never used tow missiles. Oh, they found another building full of fucking 5.56 ammo from Israeli stocks. They never use that. They use AKs, right? Again, yeah. Every airdrop that went to the ISIS guys. Oh, we thought they were the moderate rebels. No, these guys weren't making mistakes. Oh, sure, they're going to tell the pilots that you dropped in the wrong spot. They did no. They dropped where their coordinates exactly were told. These guys. So there was a Black Hawk helicopter guy goes, we're not saying we missed our drop. We don't, we dropped where we were told to drop. If the guys on the ground weren't the guys that were supposed to be there, that's not on us. So what's he telling you? He's telling you, yeah, we dropped weapons to ISIS. That's what he's telling you. It's so there must have been a mistake in the intelligence. No, they knew exactly where it was going. Why? Because they used ISIS to overthrow Assad. Israel and the United States and Germany and France and probably us Canadians and the British and there was about 40 nations that were supporting ISIS to overthrow Assad, right? I digress. But anyway, yeah, so as soon as these soldiers go in, if they are going to be as cartoonishly, when you can't drive a nail in, grab a bigger hammer. Picture you're trying to drive a nail and it starts going crooked on you. You know what that's like? And then it bends the other way. It bends 16 different fucking ways and you're trying to straighten it. And it just turns into a fucking dog's breakfast. Well, that's what this is going to turn into. It's okay, well, we can't take them out with our air power. They're not backing down. They're not coming to the table. They're not surrendering. They're still leveling the shitballs out of Syria or Israel. They're hitting all our bases. They're racking up like you got to think like the cost per shot here is heavily on the Iranian. Yes, they're getting hit more. There's no doubt about that. They've been, I don't know what they'd be up to now, but last count they've been like 6,000 sorties and 16,000 targets destroyed in Iran. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot. But they're not. Nothing is significant. They're still firing back. They haven't let up, and it's like if there's like any sort of see they're running out of weapons. They're not running out of weapons. The Iranians probably can fight for years with what they have, especially if they keep eliminating, which they got another launcher the other night. So again, you got these radars that are down, which is going to make it easier for them to hit targets and more valuable targets to the point where it gets to the point where it's like every time you fire something, you hit something. You know what I mean? The Iranians have got a better strategy. It's low tech, works like you fire the rocket, you go back in, have your hummus sandwich, load up, fire another rocket, right? F6, you got Israeli pilots whacked out, and I don't know about the American pilots, but the Israeli pilots whacked out on these fucking upper drugs because they only get about 4 hours of sleep a night. You know what I mean? Firing, flying like 10-hour missions, 12-hour, 14-hour missions a day, and it's like these guys are gonna fucking die from fucking. They're gonna go catatonic in the cockpit. Like your brain's not meant to do that, right? So these guys, the airplanes are wearing out. They're wearing out. The rockets, you fire them once. The drones, you fire them once. Like you can see like the Iranian guy come out, big fat Iranian guy. It's like, oh, look at my beautiful. Yes, very nice, very nice. Go, little Shahid drone. I will miss you. Yeah, Durka Durka. For the next 4 hours. Yeah, like literally, there's lawnmower engines on these things. Like, yeah, state of the art. Like, who would ever think of it? Like, it's probably, I bet you they're fucking 2-stroke engines too. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you they're 2-stroke engines that go, like, keep it cheap, right? Oh, yeah. And then I heard that they're making battery powered ones, but we'll see. But anyway, yeah, so these guys, what are they going there for? One veteran, I think he says it best, and this is, okay, so red flag one, Trump's going to be stupid enough, and his military planners are going to be stupid enough that we're going to be America, yeah, and we're going to, take Iwo Jima 2.0. No, you're not. Like, you're going to land on Carg Island, you're going to fucking die there, right? There is rumors that, now take it with a grain of salt, that some soldiers are kind of like, like, we're not going to do these stupid things. Like that, basically, okay, when Trump says, yeah, we're going to put the warships and escort the tankers out. The only tankers that are allowed to go through the Strait of Hormuz is whoever Iran allows. There's a few nations, but the problem is it's not going to matter because once those tankers are out of there, it's not going to matter anyway because they're never coming back in again. No one's going to insure them, number one. And what are you going to pick up? Like the oil refineries are all fucking, getting blown up. You know what I mean? All the storage units are getting blown up, Yeah, like 20% of the world's oil supply has just been taken off the market for probably permanent, or at least for the next 20 to 30 years. Like, yeah, just think of the chaos of that. And then the starvation rates are already starting. So, like I told you guys, okay, I was a little bit late. I said you'd see it in the end, by the end of, February. Okay, so it's middle of March. So I'm off by 3 weeks. Okay, fine. But, yeah, the food shortage, and we're going to be talking about the food shortages. Trump has fucked the United States so badly. Again, the main thing we have to do up here in Canada is basically get ready for a U.S. invasion by probably next fall. Because of the fuck-ups, with the food and stuff like that's coming. I can't stress enough. But anyway, so the 2,200 guys get there. Where are they going to go? I don't know. If they go to Carg Island, they're dead, right? That'll get like maybe 10% of the U.S. population rallying around the flag. The other 80% is going to want to kill Israel and their government. You're going to see, like, again, U.S. veterans and probably active duty law enforcement and veteran law enforcement start to form militia groups. And again, you could see a military coup in the United States. Like right now, Israel is being run by possibly a junta. meaning like it's not an elected government. It's basically the IDF, whoever's left alive. You know what I mean? Like there's again footage out there. Take it with a grain of salt. They say there's the CT camera, surveillance camera, basically of from BB's bunker, of him getting killed, and it looks like AI to me. It looks like AI to me. So I would take that with a grain of salt. Is BB still alive? It's still debatable, guys. Like I can't say one way. Again, the AI is getting pretty fucking good, right? Yes, he's come out and mocked all the stuff like that, but there's still anomalies. Like it's like when there's still anomalies, right? I don't know. My hunch is he's still alive and just fucking with people so that they have this idea that okay, he's dead, so that the Iranians will stop looking for him. But if the Iranians keep saying, yeah, no, we're coming for you, that means he's still alive. Like, because they're not going to be wasting their time. They're going to go after they are killing high level Israeli personnel. You're just not hearing about it as much, right? Now the Iranians, yeah, they're losing a lot of generals and stuff like that, but they can replace them almost as fast as anything. And their strategy is basically be a hydra. You cut that guy's head off, the next one pops up, right? Because they're not centralized in their strategy, which is kind of the better strategy. The Israelis, they're centralized in their strategy, right? The Americans, they're centralized in their strategy. It's basically whatever Trump demands. But when you have, U.S. captains saying, yeah, the POTUS could order the warship, into the strait to go escort these tankers, but we're going to tell you, fuck you, no way, we're not doing that. You'll get us killed, And Trump would do it from his ego just to say, okay, look, see how strong we are? He even had like Fox News saying, yeah, we're escorting, because people will just parrot what Trump says as this is what's happening, right? I beat ISIS and they're all over the place. The greatest economy ever. Fucking gas is at like $8. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like there's the people that just believe him. You know what I mean? It's mainly the older boomer types that just watch like Fox News or CNN or whatever. Like well, maybe not CNN or whatever, but like Fox News or whatever. And like Fox News is like, don't even fucking look at it. Like there is no accuracy there. Like there is no truth there whatsoever. And it is hard to get the truth. And it's not subjective truth. It's, hey, no, okay, this side says it happened this way, this side said it happened that way, that side said it happened that way, that side said it happened. What we can agree on is this happened. That's basically where we're at. So there's a lot of mud in the water, whatever, to navigate here. But that said, the 2,200 troops or 3,000 or 6,000 troops, whichever number it is, one of the veterans is saying like one of the main things that they might be doing is they might have to escort people off, because you have to understand, like especially like in Iraq or whatever, all the embassies are under siege. Like they're under siege by pro-Iranian groups, right? Like they're trying to get all the Kurdish groups to rise up against Iran, and they're like, considering what the fuck they're doing to like a first world power and the entire Gulf states, maybe like if the Iranians did want to wipe out the anti, you know what I mean? I'm sure those groups will die, honorably, but they're gonna die, right? So they're probably like, nah, because you got to understand, like these Kurdish groups, they might hate the Iranians, but I'm sure they hate the Americans more. You know what I mean? Like all these, you know what I mean? Like it's the Muslims are going to side with Muslims before they're going to, and Arabs before they're going to side with Westerners, right? Western-looking people, aka white guys, are basically the reports are like it's like you can't just walk around willy-nilly there like a tourist, because although there is still tourism going on in the Middle East, there's people on the beaches and stuff like that, people waiting to get home. You're talking about thousands of people stranded. So that's where these forces, if you don't see them going to Tripoli, then you know the situation is far worse than what we're being told. Because if these guys are evacuating groups, basically they got to go evacuate the embassies. That means the Iranians have just basically won the war. And they're going to win. Well, they've already won the war. Like a lot of people, they can't see it yet, but they have the upper hand all the time. It doesn't matter. Like, look, if they can take out 7 tankers or 9 tankers or 5 tankers a week, okay, in 20 weeks, 22 weeks, 6 months, the U.S. has no tankers left. You know what I mean? Like, so right there, you're down to aircraft carriers, which will have to get so close that they're well within anti-shipping missiles. So you're not going to have the only thing flying over Iran is mainly Predator drones. That's why they're getting shot down so much. The other aircraft have to fire the weapons a little further out. So the A-10s, you're not going to see if you see A-10s over Iran, that'll be the last place you see them because they're going to get shot down. And the further out the aircraft, which now there's only 2 aircraft carriers in the area. The third one I don't think is there yet, which is it's the George Bush and the Abraham Lincoln that are there, and then there's I think the Harry S. Truman is on the way. Don't quote me on the third one, but anyway, the Gerald Ford is heading back, right? And it's well over the due, and that's the largest aircraft carrier in the world, just so you know. Like it's the top dog aircraft carrier ever built, right? Of these super carriers, and it's out of the fight. That's just a why. But anyway, getting back to those 2,200 guys. So those 2,200 guys are going to have to get their citizens out, right? Maybe they'll get citizens of other countries out. Maybe they won't because Trump, he's mad that. The NATO countries won't go into this war. It's not our war. And again, you can't say, well, how dare you not help defend us? Look, everybody jumped in when 9/11 happened. Yes, it was an inside job. There's no way to, it's easier to prove that it's an inside job than that it wasn't. And that's, people still call you conspiracy theorists, but just look at the details. Follow the money. You'll figure it out. Who benefited the most? Well, the same people that you're at war for now. It's always been for Israel, right? And again, it's very easy to track this stuff. You know what I mean? Ryan Dawson's probably the best 9/11 guy out there. Not Alex Jones, Ryan Dawson. Go listen to him. He'll get you on the insurance, all the insurance scams and everything like that. All these, Jews getting the notification not to go to work that day. How would they know? All these dancing Israelis saying, yeah, we're there to document the event. They knew. And they did nothing for their number one ally to stop and say, hey, look, you're about to have the biggest terrorist attack. So did they just hijack the terrorist attack? I don't know. That people can debate. Or were they in on it right from ground one? I don't know. No. Kind of like how the Egyptians, also Egypt has finally gotten hit in this. I forget which base it was, but Egypt, yeah, they got hit by a drone. What was the target? Might have been an Australian base or something. Yeah, in Australia, they got a base hit. I didn't. Australia? Why the fuck does Australia have a base in the Middle East? But yeah, they got hit too. Everybody got hit. We got hit. Everybody got hit. Right? But yeah, so if these guys are doing evacuations, embassies, U.S. citizens, blah, 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 we'll see, right? We'll see. That tells you how bad it actually is. Getting Israelis out of Israel, I don't know. At this point, Ben Gurion Airport or whatever you call it, it's getting hit on a nightly. I think 3 aircraft were destroyed yesterday. Again, who's going to fly in and out of it? You know what I mean? And the other thing is, who wants 7 to 9 million Israelis in your country? You fucked up your own country. Now you're going to come here and fuck you. Yeah, you stay there. You reap what you sow. You wanted to take out Iran. You wanted to fight Iran so bad. You wanted the Greater Israel Project. Yeah, you guys deal with it. Fuck you guys. You know what I mean? You fucked up the rest of the planet. Economically, just because Israel said so. Fuck them. Sweep the leg, no mercy. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I know there's some people there, obviously a lot of innocent people there getting killed that don't want this, but when the majority of them wanted it, let them have it. You know what I mean? You reap what you sow. And to say that you didn't think this was going to turn out like the Iranians have been telling you exactly what they were going to do, and the Iranians are still doing measured responses. You killed our guy, you get 200 rockets. You know what I mean? You stay there, you get 30 rockets. So it's like we're going to give it to you bad, or we're going to give it to you worse. But the Iranians are still doing calculated responses. They are not scoring scorched earth. Everybody's, oh, they're going scorched. They are not going scorched earth. That's what should worry you. You could clearly tell they're not going scorched earth. Because if they're going scorched earth, they'd be hitting just anything and everything. Now, mind you, they are sort of carpet bombing Israel because it's just like, okay, well, we've got your radars, most of your radar station, forward radar stations down. I don't know how much of the Israeli Navy's been destroyed. I know they've hit the ports. They've hit every port in the region. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, they're gonna pour the beans to the Israelis because that's the number one enemy. But they're hitting everybody else. But the thing is they're not in this they're not for example using cluster rockets against the Saudis. I mean, they're using them against the Israelis because they just want to damage the city as much as possible. And I do understand some of the footage you're seeing. There's a mix of footage, like there's footage from the last June's attack, counterattack, right? There's footage from Gaza that gets mixed in, said it's Israel. Yeah, there's some of that going on too. But what you can verify from Israel, and what the Israelis are doing, is they're showing you some footage of, like, say, a neighborhood where one of the cluster bombs might have hit. It does a little bit, but they're not showing you like the important stuff, right? Because they don't want to give the Iranians the targeting data, right? Of okay, yeah, we hit that, we hit it right. Okay, we can hit it again, or okay, now we can move on to the next target, right? They want the Iranians kind of guessing whether they hit or not. So there's a lot of damage not being showed. But whenever you watch from, like for example, Lebanon, people like, yes, there's like, hey, the saxophone guy, that's from the last time. The dancing Lebanese on the roof there watching the rockets coming. But there is some bordering where they're getting like footage, like saying they are getting hit. Like some Jordan, I believe. Like they're like people out there with oh yeah, they just got hit. They got hit. So there is some stuff that can be collaborate. Like you can see the rockets coming in for sure. Like a rocket will hit a building, like an 8-story building, like half the building just fucking collapses, right? So yeah, there's a lot of mixture in there too. But the other last thing I want to say about these troops, if they're in there, okay, and they're evacuating citizens, they're evacuating embassy people. Once your embassies are dead, then like there's no more diplomatic. But also there might be the Gulf states might be telling, okay, yeah, you got to get your guys out of here because we can't. It's going to take them decades to just undo the damage that's done, right? And you have to understand that most of the stuff, like the Iranians haven't taken all the desalination plants out. Once they start doing that in Israel, well, then that's it for Israel. You know what I mean? Like Israel only has a handful of desalination plants, right? Once you do that, then everybody dies of thirst in like 3 or 4 days, right? So like, yeah, it's just crazy. So that tells you. The other thing is that what they could be there most likely, and if it is, I'm sure there'll be leaks. Like we're supposed to believe that with all this destruction going on, okay, so you could take out 7 tankers, okay, or 5 tankers on the ground, or 7 tankers on the ground, but nobody gets killed, okay? You could take out possibly 7 F-35s in hangars on the ground, but nobody gets killed, okay? You could take out Navy ports, all this, radar forward installations, like the embassy, okay, well, if that's CRAM was firing, okay, like I know some of these things do work automated or whatever, but chances are there's somebody in that embassy control, firing that. So you're telling me that none of those people got killed? You know what I mean? So what I'm thinking is, and this is going to sound crazy, but body recovery could be a big job. What these guys are going to be doing there, and if that's the case, you're going to start hearing the actual numbers. Like I think tens of thousands of people have been killed. To be honest with you, I don't think it's just 13 people dead and 140 to 200 people wounded. Okay, yeah, that's just it's impossible. UAE, there was some sort of a special jet destroyed, but they didn't say what it was. Up here in Canada, we're really we're now putting like 1.45 billion dollars into basically building munitions for ourselves. So what we're doing up here in Canada, you have to understand, is we're getting ready to be weaned off the United States anyway. Because what Trump's going to do is like, okay, no more parts to military vehicles to Canada. I think we're getting ready for that. Like Trump and JD Vance's hatred for Canada is pretty easy to see. Like you got JD Vance parroting, like, oh yeah, Canada's treating America so bad. 80% of Americans still view us favorably. It's only the MAGA people, like, and Republicans or whatever that are don't like Canada, right? That think we're like the worst people that have ever, like Canada's always fucking us over. And again, they can't tell you how, like what it, like it's they throw out the buzzwords because Fox News said so. But they can't tell you how we're fucking you over. Like again, and when you look at deal for deal, you're going to find that holy shit, Canada was like the best trade partner we could have ever had. I'm not saying there wasn't any issues, but like when you ask for details, you can't ask Trump for details because his faggot ego gets hurt so easily that he can't and he can't tell the truth, right? Earthquakes, all these weird earthquakes going under. Some people are speculating that there's underground nuclear tests. Some are speculating that the Dimona nuclear power plant might have been, again, would the Israelis blow up their own nuclear power plant to blame it on the Iranians? They'd do anything. It's the Israelis. Again, the Mossad is so well documented with their false flags and stuff like that. And again, the thing is it doesn't really matter. We're going to get a false flag no matter what. It doesn't really matter because, like the Iranians, the way they're going to be looking at it, and I'm still wondering where those 2 Iranian subs are. I'm wondering, like the U.S. Gerald Ford, if it's heading back, does it have a big escort? Like, is the whole carrier group coming back or just them? Like maybe they departed with, say, like a destroyer escort. But let's say there's only 2 destroyers or maybe 2 corvettes escorting the U.S. Gerald Ford back to the stateside, okay, because of all the problems it's having. And you've got that one Kylo sub out there in the middle of the Atlantic sitting there waiting. You know what I mean? Load 6 torpedoes, fire 1 at each destroyer and 4 at the aircraft carrier. And even if they lose, they don't hit the destroyers, they're almost guaranteed to hit one to all 4 torpedoes on an aircraft. Because an aircraft carrier is not going to do a torpedo, right? And if it's fired at unmissable range, again, you never know. But that would probably coincide to my idea that they might do, like I say, an attack on the U.S. harbor, because it's going to take a week or 2 for those submarines to sneak their way to say, like, if they could hit, again, maybe they have more subs, I don't know. But let's say they hit, like, Norfolk, right? And then what's the, like, Pensacola or something like that, like the big naval bases. And then what the big one in San Diego is, I forget what it is. There's one in LA, there's one in, like, there's a whole bunch of naval bases on the coast, right? And if they could even hit, like let's say there's like two aircraft carriers sitting dry dock, like for maintenance. That's the best place to get them. I mean, just sink them right there. Jam up the harbor. Like for months. To get like, how do you get an aircraft carrier sunken in the harbor? What I mean? Like, look, Pearl Harbor, the stuff's still there. What I mean? You had to wait for the ocean to take away. I don't know. I'm taking that. I wouldn't put it past them because, like, if there was going to be false flags out, like if it's a false flag and you see a whole bunch of civilians dying, like a 9/11 style false flag. Look, you're seeing all these little terrorist attacks all over the world in the Western countries, particularly in the States. There was another guy the other day, try to shoot up a place. The sleeper cells are going to be. You're going to be experiencing this for the next 30 to 50 years. You know what I mean? Like, because of Israel, right? Yeah. So anyway, but the U.S. drove forward. Okay, so they're saying between 200 injured and 600 beds because of this fire that's taken like this laundry fire that's taken like 3 days to extinguish. Okay. There's no laundry fire that would take 3 days to extinguish. No, not possible. Because if something was burning for 3 days on an aircraft carrier, that entire aircraft carrier would be full of smoke. You wouldn't be able to breathe. So the backed up toilets, a lot of people are speculating that that's sailors, disgruntled sailors that have been, because this thing is already like it's the longest deployment of an aircraft carrier since the Vietnam War, right? And what's gone on is that it was on its way home, and then Trump decided to send it back into battle. It's been out there a year and a half or whatever it's been. You can go look and find out for yourself. It's something like that. And it's well overdue in maintenance. So the toilets are backing up, most likely people clogging the toilets with God knows what, right? So the entire aircraft carrier can't smell too good. Can you imagine that going like a backed up toilet smell going through the entire ventilation system of an aircraft carrier? Yeah, that's going to be pretty fucking rank. That's going to be pretty miserable, right? Then you've got this laundry mat fire, which again, even if it's natural gas burning, like there's pipes, you cut the fucking pipes off, the fire stops. Like fire's not going to burn for 3 days in a metal object. Like you know what I mean? Like it's only going to burn for 3 days. If it's, they said 2 people were injured in the fire initially, right? My hunch is if you coordinate the claim of the toilets, okay, it happens the day before the invasion, right? The attack on Iran, okay? That's 100%. Everybody, all sides agree. It goes to sea, so and it jumps in on the fights, right? Goes into carrier operations. Okay, now a carrier is a big machine, right? Like again, this thing is huge. It's like 1,000 feet long or whatever. You can go look. Maybe it's longer than that, but it's huge, right? And the thing is that if it was saboteurs, again, people sabotaging the ship. The one thing you would never okay, clogged toilets, sure. Cut wires of critical, fry out, logistics boards. Yeah, that's the type of sabotage somebody would do. The one thing you would never do on a ship as saboteur is a fire, unless you were willing to die, because a fire on a ship is the worst thing, right? It's like a fire in a submarine is almost a death sentence for everybody on board. For example, the Chicoutimi, the HMCS Chicoutimi. It's funny listening to people try to pronounce that like it's a native word. So it's like, but when we got those Victoria Upholder class subs from the British back in the 1990s, right? On the maiden voyage of the Chicoutimi from England to here, it caught fire. One sailor died. I think the other guys, because by the time they were able to get the fire out and get out of get out of the sub, it was on the surface the whole way, but it was just like, a wire caught and something burnt, and the guy died of inhalation. Like, I mean, when things burn on a ship, you're not just breathing in smoke like wood smoke. You're breathing in chemicals. You're breathing in plastics. You're breathing in metals. That stuff will kill you very quickly. That's like when batteries, exploding batteries, shit like that. So this idea that you're going to have a 3-day fire and only 2 people are going to be injured. Okay, 600 people lose their place to sleep. Okay, that means there's a whole section of the ship quarantined off. So the fire itself wouldn't take 3 days to put out. I'd be out in probably an hour or so, right? And if it was like a leaky gas pipe, like again, there's shut off valves and automatic shut off valves everywhere, right? So if it was sabotage, then you have an Iranian spy on the ship, right? Having a spy on the ship would be like if you really wanted to take down the ship, it's very easily. You sabotage the reactor, right? What you do, late one night they're on patrol. They're going to do airstrikes, whatever. The carrier comes in like 250 miles from the shoreline. Your Iranian saboteur basically shuts down the reactor, does something to sabotage the reactor to either get it to shut down or melt down. You melt down the reactor, you kill everybody. But he's probably going to have like an explosive or something, or improvised explosive to get it to happen, right? And then when you do that, you jump into, like you grab a life preserver, you jump into the water or whatever, and you communicate where you guys get picked up by a submarine or something like that. Whatever you got to do to survive, right? You get off there and you let it take its course, and then and then while the ship is just sitting there floating around without power, you pelt the shit out of it with the cruise missiles or whatever. If people are lucky, they can evacuate in time, but there's no point in taking out the aircraft carrier and leaving the skilled personnel alive. You know what I mean? Like if you're a war planner, you're like, it's the people. The aircraft carrier is really nothing. The F-22 is nothing. The F-35 is nothing. It's the people in it. It's even though the technology has come a long way, it's still the man versus the machine, right? Why? Because without the man, you're just not going to get. You need that trained personnel who knows how to use the logistics to win the fight, right? So that's what I'm thinking. If it is saboteurs, it's disgruntled American saboteurs because they haven't destroyed something in the ship that would be, a real benefit to Iran, right? Getting the ship to turn around only to get repaired to come back, unless the goal was to sabotage the ship. Okay, and you got to think about it this way. Now, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, but think about it this way: the U.S. Gerald Ford comes back. There's a Kylo sub trailing it. Doesn't do anything. Why? Because it's impossible to get it to, like it's not impossible to attack it, but it's very risky to attack it, right? You follow it all the way back to the harbor. It goes into the harbor, gets dry docked. You wait till every sailor gets off it, and then you fire one torpedo right under where the reactor is. You blow the ship balls out of that. You radiate the entire shipyard, with the reactor meltdown. And then you sink what other ships in the harbor. Okay, so you destroy all this tonnage of ships. You don't kill anybody. The American people will be mad that you just attacked their ships, but you didn't kill their people, right? So most Americans be like, well, we can understand why they did it. And the IRA did something similar to this, where they would call in bomb threats, give everybody enough time to evacuate the building, and then blow up the bomb, right? They would do this because they knew that bodies would lose support if there was bodies, right? Especially if they're killing their own, right? But anyway, I digress. So that could happen, but that said, what we can all agree on, what the mainstream media is saying, what the government is saying, is the U.S. Gerald Ford is out of the fight. It is now leaving. We know that's probably what the other carrier was coming for, was to come and, because the longer they keep this thing at sea, the more damage it's going to do to itself in maintenance, right? The longer it'll take to repair it. Plus, like all these soldiers that have been out there for a year and a half, I mean, they've had enough, especially when it's a bullshit war. So this can go many different ways. We're in almost at the end of week 3. We're Thursday today, tomorrow, Saturday, be 3 weeks. Guys, this is going to go on for years. But that said, the most important thing that's happening now is not the widgets getting blown up on the ground, like, okay, oh, yeah, great. The Americans took out a C-130. Wow, yeah, impressive. Yeah, but it's been probably sitting there for waiting for parts for 20 years. They took out an F-4, the last of the 12 remaining flying F-14s. Well, how often were the Iranians flying those F-14s? Like twice a year? Again, can't get parts from them. All their good stuff is sitting in the caves. There's reports that they're trying to use nuclear detonations to collapse the caves. No real support evidence of this. And you're talking about a lot of caves that are well structured. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The Strait of Hormuz is still being controlled by Iran. Iran produces about 5% of the world's oil. Okay. But they control the strait, which controls about 20% of the world's oil. That's why you get this discrepancy in numbers. Okay, now that problem is it's not just the oil. It's like I say, the Middle East, these Gulf states, most of them rely on 90% of their food being imported, right? So with all these tourists there, all these foreign workers there, these people trying to desperately get out without getting killed. Look, I'm thinking at one point you get on a train, you go to the safest airport available or safest port, head towards the Mediterranean, get yourself to Europe, you know what I mean? Or whatever, and then, get it I think in Cyprus, or places like that, or to Crete or whatever. Yeah, like those places, yeah, or Turkey or Spain or Greece, or you make it there, you can get home from there, right? But you might have to contact your embassy to get you home. Like there's probably every embassy in Europe right now. It's like, yeah, I'm stranded. I got no money left. Can you get me home, right? Help their citizens. It'll take 6 months to probably get everybody out of there. But the longer they wait to get out, like waiting for a flight, don't wait for a flight when you could take a train. But the problem is these trains and stuff like that might become dangerous to take because of an angry populace, right? Don't wait till the people are riding in the streets, because you get on a train, people are just going to pull you off the train and kill you, right? This is where again, you're going to have to be escorted out of the country. Rent a vehicle, organize a tour bus, you know what I mean? Take the safest routes possible to get out, to the other side of again, you're probably going to have to cross like 3 or 4 countries to get out, because you can't get out through Libya. You might be able to get out through Egypt, right? Maybe you have to take a train the whole way around through fucking Azerbaijan, like Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan and wherever, who knows, right? Maybe you can jump a cruise ship on, or a ferry from, Egypt to Europe, or, to Turkey, and then from Turkey, take a train or a bus or a plane to Europe. However you got to get out. But don't wait. Don't wait. If you have to borrow money from people back home or take out a loan, get the fuck out of the Middle East. Because you're either going to die of dehydration without lack of water, because as the water gets shut down, you're going to starve to death, or you're going to be killed in populist uprisings. Because everybody's going to look at the foreigners as the bad guys, especially if you're of a Euro descendant. If you're a white dude at all, they're going to kill you, right? So get out now while it's easy. Say, yeah, but I'm waiting for my flight. If they cancel the flight on you 5 times already, maybe you should start looking at, okay, well, if you can't get out through the main airport there, which airports are still open, right? Go there. Well, the motels are all full there. Well, okay, go buy a tent. You know what I mean? Sleep outside the airport, wait for I get it. The Middle East is going to be empty. It's emptying out as we speak. A lot of people are going to have to find ways to get their citizenry out. Canada, we're working on ways to get our citizenry out and stuff like that. And that citizenry, again, all that their economies are going to shut down because of all these foreign workers with technical trades. They're just going to okay, well, You could double my pay, but I'll find another job. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna risk dying here. You know what I mean? So that's to come in the next couple of weeks. Again, it's a logistics nightmare to get all these people out in normal times, right? To keep like the trains and the planes flying on time. Add in rocket attacks and escalating rocket attacks. Again, the Iranians are going to pace themselves with this one. Like the aircraft carrier thing, like again, if they could take out the tankers and the AWACS first, then you can shoot down as many aircraft as you want. And, again, once the aircraft carriers have to come in closer, then you can take them out. But they're also, I think the Iranians are like, okay, it's too early to do that because it might get like the U.S., it's like, okay, we know it's another Israeli, Jewish war, but predominantly, again, the United States is controlled by Israel. I mean, anybody that denies that at this point, like I can gaslight all you want, but everybody knows the truth. But here's what we're saying is that everybody knows the truth, right? So this is why Normie Norman is mad at Israel and Israelis and Jews, right? I know it's not all of them, but it's most of them, and it's kind of like how the MAGA people are really, all the MAGA people out there saying we didn't vote for this, we didn't vote for this. But there's a handful that did, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, well, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. That's the way the world works. It's not fair. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is what it is. All white people are racist. All black people are criminals. All Arabs are terrorists. All Israelis are, Zionist Jews that want to destroy, deconstruct the rest of kill the goy. It doesn't have to be 100% true. There just has to be enough of it to get the populace to sway one way, because people are reactionary. Like most people don't think. Right? They're not thinkers. They're just reactionary. The news tells you to hate Canada because we're screwing you over. Okay, well, I'll do that. Well, I hate Muslims because they're all terrorists. Okay, well, I'll do that. And the list goes on and on and on. Right? So it's like most people are just going to be irrational. But what won't matter is when the food runs out. And yes, the food is going to run out because the United States, okay, who's picked a battle with Canada, which they get 85% of their fertilizer from. Okay, and they've hit that with tariffs. Not hurting us, hurting them, hurting their own farmers. To the point where you've put probably about 30 to 40% of your farmers out of work, right? They just can't do it anymore, right? Just so Bill Gates and China can buy up the land pennies on the dollar, right? Yeah. You've got 4 major agro companies in the States that control the prices, right? The farmers can't make money. You've increased input costs across the board. I've been talking about this and screaming. I've been screaming about this since last February, guys, when Trump took office, right? That he was going to create the biggest, global starvation. I told you back in 2020 that 2 to 4 billion people were about to starve to death. I've revised it last year that 4 to 6 billion people are about to starve to death. You'll see it probably now in the Middle East first and Africa, right? That's what I've said. But the other amount of fertilizer where the United States gets the other than Canada is, guess where? Yes, you guessed it, the Middle East. They get a lot of their fertilizer, like another 5% or so. So you're talking about 90% of U.S. fertilizer, 5% that's completely unavailable because, well, you can't get the ships out, right? Or very little, right? In countries that are going to be starving to death, right? Because they can't grow food just because of it's the desert, right? Like they put their money into mega hotels rather than greenhouse technology, right? Like that's what they do in the Middle East. If it was white Europeans in the Middle East, they would have like oasis everywhere. You know what I mean? The hotels, they'd have one super hotel like in Dubai or whatever, and the rest would be like, okay, wind and solar. Let's make sure the population can eat with greenhouses. Like even Trudeau, as bad as he was, the worst prime minister Canada's ever had, was smart enough to understand that up in the Arctic, you got to start putting, like greenhouse technology up there, so that the Inuit can feed themselves, right? with other than more than seal meat, right? But at least the Indian would have seal meat. What do the Saudis have? The Qataris, the Kuwaitis. What do they have? What are they going to do? Oil? Like you can't even really do much fishing there. You know what I mean? Like you can do some, but they like Newfoundland. Yeah, the Newfies they here in Canada. Yeah, they can survive off of fish. You know what I mean? People in BC, we've got these two mega, one on the east coast, one on the west coast. It's a fishing vessel, catches the fish, uh, processes the fish, and by the time they get back to the shore, they offload cases of packed fish, right, and they load it right onto trucks and it goes directly to the supermarket. You couldn't get a more efficient fishing business than that, right? What do they have? They got gold plated toilet bowls. Okay, great. Their motel. Okay, fine, sure, it's spectacular. But dudes, you really fucked up. It's kind of like when 92% of the U.S. economy's GDP numbers are coming from the fucking data centers. Oh, doom! It's doom. But the food, yes, the food is going to run out. You will see food shortages in the States. It'll be one of the reasons why they're going to blame it on us Canadians. It'll be Trump's fault, but they're going to blame it on us Canadians as again. Trump is, like I say, he's either going to try to make a go next summer or next spring in the Arctic, putting U.S. warships through the Northwest Passage, because he's already threatened the Canadian Navy, saying, we're going to go through there, and if put our Navy ships through there, and if the Canadian Navy tries to do anything, they'll have a bad day. He's basically threatened war against Canada, like literally. So, oh no, he's just bluffing. He's just doing his negotiation. Trump is not negotiation. Trump has gone full fucking mental. Like he's a Zionist evangelical doomer. I'm making that as a literal statement, a fact. And I've been telling you this for almost a decade now. Because that is what he's displayed. I mean, when you see Paulo White, sure, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of pandering. Sure, the guy doesn't go to church every Sunday. I get that. But that doesn't mean they're not fanatics. You know what I mean? And it's yeah, but I don't believe that. It's not what you believe. It's what the crazy people that are in charge of the big red button believe. And they're insane. They believe it's end times, right? Like Hank Seth is saying the quiet part out loud. These people are insane, right? They're insane. They will bring around nuclear Armageddon just cause. Like, look, you have all these like meteor strikes all over the place happening right now. I forget the name of the asteroid or whatever. But like they're probably looking at it and saying, "Oh, it's the Wormwood prophecies, therefore it's Armageddon." You know what I mean? Yeah, these people are crazy. These people are crazy. The Zionists are crazy. Again, listen to the rabbis talking about. The Mashiach's almost here, guys. Even then, yeah, the Mashiach's almost here. Don't worry. Yeah, it's nuts. If that guy's even still alive. Again, if he's dead, then everybody, all his top brass who would be around him 24/7, they're probably dead too. That means who's running Israel? Like which IDF guys are running Israel? I don't know. You tell me. They're probably in such disarray right now. It's yeah. Just wait till the decapitation strikes start hitting the U.S. Look, Trump is going to be taken out, whether it's his own side that does it, for a rally around the flag, whether it's just destroy. I still say it's going to be a U.S. Veteran, probably a veteran sniper. That's the biggest candidate to take out Trump. It could be an active duty U.S. soldier that takes out Trump. Maybe they're an Iranian sympathizer. Maybe they're just had it with Zionists and Jews and Jewish wars and banker wars and evangelicals and whatever. It could be a radical evangelical that says no, I'm not a radical. I'm just a hardcore Christian or a Catholic, and that could happen. Again, it could be an Antifa. It could be a Venezuelan. It could be a Russian. It could be a Chinese. It could be. But most likely, it's going to be a MAGA supporter. That's the betrayal. I mean, if you listen to the U.S. veterans, MAGA veterans, that like, hey, I didn't vote for this, they are fucking pissed. And it's not one guy. It's the sentiment. So, yeah, you get a Marine sniper or special forces sniper that say, hey, look, my country we need regime change here. That's going to happen. Like again, you're going to will the new boss be worse than the old boss? Most likely, because almost everybody in the U.S. government works for Israel. Like 2/3 of the Congress are dual citizenship Israelis. It's the same problem the Ukrainians have, right? Zelensky's a dual citizen Israeli. Almost everybody around him is, right? So these are all Israeli wars. A lot of people don't make the, like Putin just didn't get up one day and decide to attack the Ukraine for no reason, right? You might not like the reason he did it, but he did it for a reason, right? And I think a lot of people, once they start understanding this, and they are, a lot of people are, like, you're going to get rid of the left-right paradigm, and people are going to say, okay, no, we truly do want America first. Like people, like, anybody hear Doug Ford yesterday or the day before talking about that Canadian gun owner that shot the home invader, and he didn't get charged for the first time in fucking Canadian history? A legal Canadian gun owner doesn't get charged for defending themselves. And he was like, yeah, good. Yeah, he was just going off, and he went off on the gun buyback again. If Carney wants an easy win, get rid of the gun buyback. I get it. He's doing it to pander to these lobby groups, which are funded by the UN and George Soros, like the Coalition for Gun Control and stuff like that. They call it something different now. But yeah, like there's nobody wants it. It's very unpopular. No province really wants it. Even premiers are like, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. You do that, you'll appease half the Canadian populace. Like, don't mess with their guns. Go, like there's Bill C-220 coming out, which is to, for like basically these fucking activist judges that are basically taking the migrants' status into consideration for sentencing. Because like they're going to sentence them so low that it doesn't meet the threshold for deportation. When sentence them to the max. Put justice blind, and we don't care what color your skin is. You break the law, you get hammered, right? And then when they're done, you rip them of their citizenship. You don't let them get citizenship. You deport them back to the country of origin. If they come back through they can't. They ban them from the country forever. Like that's what we need to do. No more liberal lefty, the migrant crisis and all. Like, we got to get rid of that. We are moving in that direction slowly, extremely slowly, because Carney can't just outright fix the system because his own base will, throw him under the bus, right? He's got people to pander to the same way Trump does. But we can nudge at that direction. We are nudging in that direction. Like, again, our population for the first time since 1947 is decreasing. Maybe as things get harder, hopefully we'll see people leave. But I have a hunch we're about to see like 1 million people a month coming into like Europe, Canada, the United States. I'm a refugee. The world's going to be destroyed. Yeah. And then right from that point on, it's going to be civil war, because at that point there's no more voting your way out of the problem. People will, like, we haven't been able to vote our way out of the problem for like probably 2 decades now, but people are going to realize it. Like, it's like the mask off with Trump. Well, it's going to be mask off like with all this bullshit that we're dealing with, right? But we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to leave it at about that. Again, we'll have to see what happens with the Gerald Ford, which carrier group. I know there's a carrier group en route. I just forget which one it was. It was the George W. Bush or the Harry S. Truman, or I know the Abraham Lincoln is there. And it's always like every week you hear of like every day you've been hearing aircraft carrier sunk. There's a report of an Ollie Burke or something that got sunk trying to open the Strait of Hormuz, or maybe it was a minesweeper. But there's no evidence of it. But there's, sometimes it's just how it's reported. It's like, okay, that sounds like, the way it's reported sounds like, okay, yeah, because again, there's a lot of AI. Like, there's one, there was a hangar in the F-16, and a rocket lands right in front of the hangar. The F-16, just the way it flaps off the ground, but nobody gets killed. It's like, no, that rocket, if it can lift an F-16 off the ground inside the hangar, it's going to kill everybody in the fucking hangar. including the cameraman. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, take some of those with a grain of salt because they do look real. But when it is real, it's like the footage. Like sometimes it's more because the AI stuff it's too realistic looking. Maybe if that sounds like a thing, I don't know. But yeah, yeah. So tomorrow's Friday. Get stock up. Look, if you're going to go into debt for anything, go into debt for enough to feed you and your family for the next 2 years. And then start planning out how you're going to secure your food chain for the next 10 years. It's going to take you 10 years to do it, but again, there's no quick. Like you say, well, if I live in the country, I'll just grow a garden. Yeah, but if you have to work 8 hours a day or whatever and then tend to a garden, trust me, you're not as going to be as successful as you think. This is the problem because gardening takes all day. It takes most of your day. If you're growing enough food to feed you and your family, your entire family, this used to be a farm, guys. Like growing 800-900 pounds of potatoes a year, that's a lot of work. Like my grandma and grandfather were out there every day milking cows and whatever, going up in the bush with the team of horses, tending to the chickens, tending to the garden, taking care of the kids, like all that stuff. That was your whole day. That's what homesteading is, right? So when you have to pay like ridiculous rent and hydro bills and all kinds of water bills and whatever you might have to pay, just to find out that, hey, you know what, like how are you going to sustain yourself? You know what I mean? Like basic universal income is an impossibility. It's just welfare, basically. And there's no way to fund it, right? And look, we're at, guys, I called it. I said, look, in January, I said, look, we're going to have, $5,400 to $8,500 gold by the end of the year. That revised. By the time, like, middle of February, we're at $5,600. I revised it again and said we're probably going to have to $20,000 to $30,000 gold by the end of the year. Why? Because the food shortages. Like the United States is, again, Trump is attacking the food supply. Why is he doing this? Like, I get it. He's just, like, everything he's doing is on purpose, right? Maybe they need a certain amount of people to die to call it the apocalypse. I don't know. Maybe it's the Agenda 2030, Agenda 21 and 2030 stuff, net zero thing. Okay, well, Bill Gates said, okay, look, I'll pay this much to your campaign. You just give me the farmland, and we need to starve this many people to get back to net zero. Right? Again, you'd say, no, that sounds like conspiracy. Yeah, but these people are lunatics. You know what I'm saying? Like when they're lunatics like that, it's anything's game, right? Anything's possible. We'll see. But that's where we're at, guys. Take everything with a grain of salt. Like I say, don't believe anything of what you hear and only half of what you see. That includes me too, because I could be wrong on some of this stuff. But most of the stuff, like it's coming from the horse's mouth. You know what I mean? Like, so if I am wrong, I usually, if it is something that, like this is why, like most of these reports, unlike before, because of the way they would report things before, you could just say, okay, it was this and that was it, right? But now it's like, okay, this is what they're saying. Let's see if we can triangulate in on it and find out if it's actually accurate or not. I'm not one of those guys that want to give you sensationalism. I want to give you the most accurate truth I can. I don't care if it's on the left. I don't care if it's on the right. That's bullshit anyway. You're either sane or you're not. You're either pro-war or you're not. You're either anti-war or you're not. Like that's, and you would be surprised how many veterans, and it's mainly veterans that are anti-war. Most of these people calling for, yeah, we got to go fuck up Iran. They've never fought. They've never been in the military. And, they don't care to send your kids to get, killed. They're talking about a possible draft, because Carolyn Lovett out there saying, well, all options are on the table. The second they do a draft, you have a civil war, an actual shooting civil war, because no one's going to go die for Israel. You've got so many soldiers that are active duty right now telling you that, you know what, I'd rather go to the brig than die for Israel. And it's not because the guy has an opinion. Yes, I get it. Law enforcement, military are supposed to keep their opinions to themselves, pick a country, any country. That's always been the way it is. But What they're worried about is a massive step down. Like, again, is that what we're seeing with, like, the biggest weapon that could be used against the United States? And again, maybe this is why the Iranians are not just sinking the, again, if you think about it, like, these guys they're smart. They're not stupid. Sure, I would take out the aircraft carriers myself, because I know the Iranians have the capability to do. I know a lot of people say, oh, no, they don't. They're not that advanced, but they're advanced. If you really pay attention to how they're hitting things, sure, not every rocket hits their target, but almost most of them do. And they're hitting logistics hubs. Like, they've destroyed half the Israeli logistics hubs. You know what I mean? Like Unit 8400 has probably been taken out. That's why, like, they won't be able to stop the anti-Semitism online. That's why you're seeing it all over YouTube. Is like something's happened, because it's, like, they're not going to be able to put their bot farms out on you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, they're like, Israel is in extreme crisis right now. Like, they're getting hammered. Yes. Because more footage is coming out, because they can't control. They're not going to be able to control it for very long. You lose you lose the data center. You lose this, like the censorship. Now, mind you, that's also going to be a double-edged sword, because you take out the data center. Well, you can't upload anything anyway, right? But they might be able to send it to another country. Like, reporters might be able to send information to other countries, and they can upload it. And that's what I think you're seeing happen. I mean, we'll know when we know, right? But I also would say this, is that like when we finally get the real body counts, like, it's going to be such a disaster for Trump. So I think what he's going to do, and this is possible, is just go get those guys killed. So that when we tell you that there was 10,000 people killed, you'll think it was all in the one operation. And then the idea is to rally around the flag because you killed our guys. But I think that's more likely to stoke up a revolution than it will be to rally around the flag. Like, again, the draft thing, no, they'd have to draft like about 8 million people to be able to take Iran. I told you guys, Iwo Jima was fucking 2.0 with rockets. Like, yeah. The U.S. military might be the most powerful military on the planet, but they're fighting an asymmetrical warfare, and that they're ill-equipped for. There's no way you could fight a World War II style, warfare against, like the caves. Again, like, doesn't matter how many airstrikes you're doing. You're either killing civilians, which is hardening the Iranian resolve against the U.S. The selective targeting, again, if you look at what they're targeting, they're not just hitting anything and everything. They are going after very specific stuff. And it takes them a few tries sometimes to get out these THAAD radar systems, right? Like I say, they get them on the reload. So, like, the David Sling, I think, is still up. Maybe. Maybe not. The Arrow system, I think, Arrow 3 system, I think, is still up. Maybe not. But once they target those things, like the response time that the Israeli, number one, by the time you see the stuff coming, you have like less than 2 minutes to respond. And this is the big thing. Okay, this is kind of tells you how blind the radars are getting. When two Iranian Su-24s, like an Su-24 is like a flying brick. Like, I mean, the thing would stand out on radar like a 747. When two of those can get within 2 miles of a U.S. base, flying 80 feet above the ground at 700 miles an hour, or whatever they were flying at, with the wings swept back, and they got that close to Qatari airport, that means the radar that detected them was very fucking short-ranged. You know what I mean? That means they probably maybe detected them 20 or 30 miles out. So the guys just had enough time to get in the air. By the time they got in the air to shoot down the airplanes, they were probably the wheels were probably just going into the fucking, into the F-15 there. Just enough to lock on and hit these guys 2 miles out. So 700 miles an hour. Okay, let's add this up, just to give you how fast this is traveling. Okay, 65 miles an hour. Okay, or 60 miles an hour is 96 feet a second. Okay, 0.1 Mach is 65 miles an hour, right? 650 miles an hour is the speed of sound. 750 is like getting through the sound barrier, right? Around that, okay? So they're traveling faster than the speed of sound, ever so slightly, right? Which means they're covering approximately 10 miles a minute or 11 miles a minute. Okay, so think about that. The response time for an F-15 pilot is going to be probably like 2 minute warning kind of thing. Like, okay, the guy's sitting there, air raid siren goes on, he runs 2-3 minutes, he's up, wheels up, and then probably another 2 to 3 minutes to get out to the target. So maybe he has 4 to 5 minutes to respond. That is close. Like think about that. I mean, if you're an experienced pilot, like the 2 minute warning thing, or the 3 minute warning or whatever, you know what I mean? Like when do they launch the aircraft, right? And these guys, again, they're going to get tired, right? So I think that was just an Iranian probe. I guess they figured they'd taken down the air defenses enough that they could, finish those bases off with a high-speed pass, one pass, haul ass kind of thing with the bombers. But the thing is that you haven't seen any excursions since, because they're like, oh, no, we still got to take out more radar systems. So by this time next week, you're probably going to start to see Iranian aircraft start to do strafing runs and stuff like that, bomber runs a little more. Now, that's not an indication that they're running out of drones and rockets. Again, why launch these expensive aircraft, and whatever, unless you can pull it off? Because, yes, you're going to do way more destruction with the Su-24s, even if they're using old 500 bombs, World War II style, and just like, dropping, 30 bombs across a runway, and, again, just completely vaporize the fucking airports, right? And runways. Sure, it's worth it if you can get away with it, but when there's F-15s flying everywhere, you know what I mean? Like the F-15 air-to-air is going to be like almost impossible to take one of those fuckers out. That's like one of the best fighter aircrafts ever built. They're no good against air defense systems, typically. You know what I mean? I mean, they can get an air defense system, but they need a lot of help to do that. So again, the drones, high priority target. Like the Iranians, the tankers are like priority number one. I mean, there's 64 of them that were supposedly brought out of the 109 or whatever the Americans have. The inventory numbers are all over the place. It's 100, it's 109. We don't know what they have, but it's in that ballpark, right? And about 1/11 of it has been destroyed between Israel. Again, I don't know how many aircraft. There's reported up to about 60 aircraft destroyed on the ground just this week alone. Of what and where, it's hard to say. Like how many Israelis? Again, the attack on the helicopter, helicopter port. Again, you got Apache gunship helicopters trying to fly around to shoot down these drones, but again, how hard is that? Like like the Apaches are fast, but they're not as fast. They're maybe about double the speed of the drone, but okay, if that drone's traveling at 70 miles, 80 miles an hour, whatever it is, and you can only do 150, at red line, trying to, catch up to something that's like several miles ahead of you. You know what I mean? By the time you get there, he's already hit the target. You know what I mean? But they do got special munitions and stuff like that. The F-16 pilots. There's cool footage of, was it an F-16 or an F-18? Whatever it was. Yeah, I think it was an F-16. Bunch of people on the beach in Dubai or Kuwait or whatever. And it's like fucking you can hear the drone. Everybody's starting to scatter and panic on the beach. And you can hear this, I guess it must be a curator. Not to worry, people. He got it. You can see the fucking AIM-9 going off the rail there. This is really cool. Can you imagine when they do release the footage of this war, like, to the public? Holy shit. But again, how many people died? Every time those rockets come in, I'm like, okay, like 7-8 million people in Israel. Okay, I know a lot of them are going to be into the bomb shelters, but you're not going to get 7-8 million people into bomb shelters. It's logistically impossible, right? You know what I mean? Like, every time these cluster rockets come in, they're carpet bombing like crazy. Sure, the Israelis are trying to push their way into Lebanon right now, or into the West Bank, to fight Hezbollah. But like again, they're losing tanks. So, like again, there's only 1,300 tanks that the Israelis have, right? And they're, the RPG-29, RPG-31, the Hornet missiles, those things, they're taking these tanks out. like the Eagle and Mad Pad launchers, those are going to take out like the Israelis only have 300 fighters. You know what I mean? They're not going to last long. They're not, I mean, half of them have probably already been, like as soon as they're grounded due to maintenance, the only place they can take those things is like Cyprus or something like that to get maintained. But then you don't have the facilities there to maintain the aircraft. A lot of people, I can just go here, here, here. Yeah, sure, you can get the aircraft into safety, but it doesn't mean you got everything you need to maintain the aircraft. So all these aircraft are going to have to take chances all on the ground where, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's got to be like hundreds of aircraft destroyed on the ground. And I think the proof is going to be in the pudding on the airstrikes. When you see the airstrikes really dropping off, but the Iranians are still maintaining, the level that they're shooting at, there's no way to really draw a conclusion other than that you can't respond to them. And I think that's the biggest fear is like Donald Trump doesn't know what to do. Now, some people are saying, well, yeah, he's starting to get bored now because like when Donald Trump starts to lose, he just gives up, right? He tacos, right? Like, okay, well, I'll move on to something else now. But he can't do that with Israel because the Israelis will kill him, right? Not that anybody miss him, but like it's just the idea that, okay, well, we got to get him out of there and put our next puppet. So what a lot of people are speculating is that they're trying to find out how they're going to, justify using a nuke against Iran, which you can fire the entire batch of Israeli nukes against Iran. Yes, you'll kill a lot of people, but you won't stop the war. You know what I mean? Why? Because the missiles come out of the mountaintop. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if the top of the mountain's irradiated. After about 30, 40 feet of fucking mountain, the air's good. You know what I mean? Like, and they're down like 500 feet, 1,500 feet. Like they've won. It's going to be a humiliating defeat for the Americans because, like, this is going to make like the Bay of Pigs, like you're about to see a possible second Bay of Pigs 2.0, but like on like grandiose scale, like on Godzilla scale. To see like 2,200 guys just getting fucking slaughtered on the beach, like Iwo Jima, like 5,000 men a day. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. There we go. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I'm sure it'll be just as crazy. But stock up. I don't care if you're on the left, if you're on the right. Like I get it. Like there's people that just want to drift onto it. See, all the conservatives are bad. All the the crazy leftists, whatever. Yeah, sure. You can do that if you want, but either put food away. I know things are expensive now, but trust me, everything is on sale because starting next week and on, you're going to see food prices, everything, like the fuel prices are going up in Canada because of this war and all over Europe. And it's not even our war. You know what I mean? And Trump out there, and again, like Trump, like, well, like, they never come to our aid and stuff like that. Like, no, like Canadians have bled for Americans many times, right? And just because Trump dismisses that, which is very insulting, doesn't mean it's true, right? Like this, like, do not believe anything Trump says. The man, he flip-flops, he's a narcissist, he's all these things, and it's all coming to head now. Like at the first 2 years, it was hard to tell in his first term whether he was the good guy or the bad guy. By the middle of his first term, it's like, okay, he's Israel's guy. He doesn't hate the Americans, but he doesn't care about the Americans. I still stick by that. Like Joe Biden hated the American people. Obama clearly hated the American people, especially white Americans, right? But the thing is that with what we're seeing, though, Trump only loves Israel. He doesn't care about the Americans. So if you have to die for the cause, that's fine. Why? Because you're just a stupid guy anyway. So he doesn't hate you, but he only cares about Israel, right? That's all he cares about. And a lot of people, well, it's just because the base and the money. And then you still have all these people, well, it's because Trump doesn't know any better and all these people are giving him bad advice and he just, it's his bad advisors. And no, he's in on it. He knows very well what he's doing is not right. He knows that. Like he knows. He's not stupid. Like, again, he's a lot of things, but he's not that. Right? And again, there's people that no, we have to degrade him, so he's just stupid. No, he's not stupid. He's insane. I wish he was stupid. Because if he was stupid, he'd fuck up and get it right once in a while. You know what I mean? No, do you ever wonder why the policies never go in our favor? It's not because these people are stupid. They're doing exactly what they're told to do, or they're doing exactly what they want to do. Trump wants to kill people for the evangelicals. He wants to get the Mashiach for Israel, right? He wants that. Why? Because he's a Zionist evangelical doomer. He's in on it. Sorry, guys. Don't make any. Oh, he's got bad advisors and yeah, like this guy. Okay, this guy who spends like more time on fucking Twitter than a teenage girl, right? You say one little thing about it, he knows about it right away. So you're telling me that he doesn't know that this war is going bad. You're telling me that he doesn't have the intelligence. You're telling me that he doesn't have. That he doesn't know that most people in the States don't want. Oh no, the polls. Even Tim Pool's trying to grift on that. I can't believe he was trying to grift on that. But I understand it because like half of his staff is Jewish. So like, you're gonna grift, right? If you want the money, you got to grift. But still, like, fuck, dignity, man, dignity. There's no price tag for dignity. But yeah, so it's like, no, he knows. The bad advice, the bad intel, it's not bad advice, not bad. They don't care how many people die because it's not about, like, this war isn't about planning it out well. It's about destroying Iran, and they're going to let things get bad, including the world economy. The idea is to get the people, because they do believe this, that the people will be so upset with Iran for doing what they're doing that when we nuke them, nobody will say anything, right? Because their goal isn't to do regime change. Their goal is to vaporize every fucking Iranian. Because the Israelis for the next 100 years will never have the power to overthrow Iran. And Iran basically has the power to basically control the entire Middle East. You say, well, that's impossible. They have 20% of the world's oil supply at hostage. They are fucking hammering like 15 different countries every fucking night. Like, when do you not see it for, like, again, the obvious? Just because it's low tech and works no matter what doesn't mean it's not an advanced fucking plan. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. The Hezbollah rockets could never take over the Middle East. The Iranian hypersonic Mach 16 rockets, they can fucking take over the Middle East. Why? Because one hypersonic rocket is probably cheaper than sending an F-16, 10 hours of flight with the tanker and all those bombs on it and everything like that, and the pilot and whatever. Like, it doesn't take 5 years to train up a rocket guy. You know what I mean? It's like, it probably takes 10 hours to show him how to fucking program the warhead. That's it. you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's just completely lopsided. It's because people think that if you spend the most money on your military, therefore you have the most effective military. It doesn't work like that. Low tech works no matter what. High tech works like, if the Iranians had like the high tech stuff that, like, they could take over the world because their strategy's better. You know what I mean? Like, again, they're not going to go meet F-15s and F-22s and F-35s in the sky with old MiG-29s and F-4 Phantoms when they don't need to, right? They're going to pull those out, like, once they, okay, yeah, the aircraft carriers are down. There's basically no air, all the oil's down. There's no way to fuel these tankers or anything. We'll just take out all the aircraft on the ground. Then we can carpet bomb. Then they'll do that. Once you take out all the air defense, then you've got air. You don't have air superiority if you don't take out all the air defense. The Americans do not have air superiority. If you can't fly your F-15 directly over the country with impunity, you don't have air superiority. If you can't fly an A-10 in the area, you don't have air superiority. And you can only get that if you take out the air defense. That's what they did in Iraq, right? That's why they had air superiority, because the Iraq had nothing other than a handful of man-pad launchers that they could fire, which were easy to jam, right? Not so much now. The Iranian air defense systems, seems to work about as good as any other air defense system out there. It's kind of like a Venus flytrap. You have to be at an optimal striking distance for it to get you, but once you're in that envelope, you're done. You know what I mean? And the thing is that, yes, the Americans have the ability to detect these things. They say, okay, we're being tracked. How far? Okay, the signal's this strong, so they're probably this far out. Okay, well, we got to stay this far out then. Okay, we're just outside their envelope. We could still, they're searching for us, but we're not in their envelope. So there is that, but it's not an exact thing, because sometimes you might think that the like the radar might only be searching, say, 10, 15 miles out, okay? And then you run into it, it's like, oh, okay, so it's there, okay, so, okay, the first time, okay, well, we know we can't get them. Just make them think that it's a small air defense system, okay? And then you bring in 5 guys, and then 10 guys, and then on the third bombing run, you got, 30 airplanes coming in, and then you open it up to like 100 miles, right? And then suddenly everything within 100 miles just fucking launching. It's like, okay, we'll track them from here, coordinate with this guy, and then, create a turkey shoot, right? That's why the air defense systems, like your top air defense system guys in the world would be like your Patriot missile system guys, your THAAD missile system guys, your Arrow 2s, all that. Those are the best guys in the world. And look, the Patriot system, what, 1 in 3 chance? I mean, that's not bad, but it's still, you have to fire 3 missiles that are over $1 million a piece. After like $100,000 rocket or $25,000 rocket, it's just, it's lopsided, guys. It's lopsided. It's just, can we survive the madness of our leaders? Like every world leader around the world is pretty much crazy. Some are more tolerable than others. Like up here in Canada, it's like a mixed bag, but at least he's not trying to get us directly killed. But, again, we're stuck between 3 superpowers that all want to destroy us. Canada is basically the battlefield between China, Russia, and the United States, and all 3 of them want to take us out, right? Like, right now, the biggest threat to Canada is the United States, not Russia. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I support Russia. No, Russia, if they could get their bombers past us, they're going to do it, right? That's why, Carney's talking about air defense systems. Finally, it's like if there's anything to be learned about the Iranian war, like, okay, before we build, like, don't get me wrong, I want the warships and like that, but Canada's air defense strategy has been basically destroyers and aircraft, right? That was good enough that you could send out an aircraft, and that was enough that you could shoot down the bombers. But now it's like, that's the expensive way to do it. What you need to do is have, basically ground radar, all that stuff, but you need mobility, because obviously having stuff sit, like these over-the-horizon radar systems are going to be very good during, for surveillance, but they're going to be easily taken out because they're stationary, right? So the Russians, they figured out you put all your air defense systems on wheels. Well, the Iranians have done the same with most of their air defense systems are on wheels. But those are usually short and medium range. And we're now talking about getting short, medium, and long-range air defense systems. And they're not going to be American. Like, one thing that a lot of people know is, like, with Trump talking about everybody in NATO expanding, up to 5% GDP, right? Well, what he was basically doing is saying, you have to buy that much weaponry from the United States. So people say, okay, yeah, we agreed to up our GDP, and again, it takes a long time to do that. Like, Carney's kind of cheating a bit with, just giving everybody a raise. That'll take up a few billion right there, right? But we need good stuff. Like, we need good stuff. Like, we don't just need to overpay people. We actually need air defense systems and stuff like that. But we can't buy anything from the States going forward because they might turn hostile to us, especially once the food shortages started happening. You're going to see the blame Canada card being played on the left and the right. It's like, well, Canada's trying to starve us out. It's like, no, you put tariffs on the fertilizer that you're buying. You know what I mean? Like, you it's a self-inflicted wound. You know what I mean? You basically got the Middle East on fire and you lost that fertilizer. So no matter what, there's going to be like food shortages in the States. Not to mention global oil, basically. Sure, we're going to benefit here a bit in Canada, but it's not just because there's more demand doesn't mean you can easily produce it. Like, for example, the Hibernia oil plant. A lot of these offshore rigs, the reason why they get shut down is because the oil's at like 130 a barrel, right? So it's going to be expensive oil. It's one of the most expensive ways to get oil, next to the way we're doing it. Like, the cheap oil is Saudi Arabia, where it's just fucking bubbling on the top of the ground. You know what I mean? That's the cheapest oil you're going to get. We do it with the bitumen and stuff like that. That's not as expensive, I think, as offshoring, but because we have the technology, like we have the Hibernia plant. It's had its problems or whatever, but like, at least we have oil for ourselves, right? But the way the Americans look at it is that no, that oil up there in Canada is ours because Canada, fuck them because they're, they're always screwing us over. Again, how? Again, the next time you hear an American say, oh, Canada's always screwing us over, say, well, exactly what is it that we've done? And they have nothing. All they have is just the bullet talking points of Trump and J.D. Vance and all. Like, they're our enemy. Not the American people, but the American government is our enemy. Like, they literally want to go to war with us. I've been telling you guys that. And that's, resource scarcity is usually a reason why you go to war. So we'll see what happens. And no, the United States would not win a war against us. If you thought Iran was hard to, like, one advantage they have is air, sure. But, like, the disadvantages they have is topography, right? Again, a guerrilla warfare, anti-tank weapons, low-flying Stinger missile, like that stuff. Like, we're like the number one builders of MadPad launchers in the world, I think. We were anyway. I don't know if we still are, but, and we're gearing up for that stuff now. You never want to go up against a Canadian artillery barrage. That's a bad, because we train our guys better than just about anybody when it comes to artillery. And that includes mortars, everything like that. So, like, the guerrilla warfare would be just absolutely fucking insane. It would be insane. And the thing is that if you think you're just going to roll Abrams tanks into the middle of the fucking prairies, well, that's like anti-tank food. You're going to be fucking, anti-tank weapon food. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be artillery food. There's a reason why you don't see major tank battles in the Ukraine. Because the second a tank comes out of the fucking tree line, it gets hit by a drone. And yeah, we're starting that too. So, yeah. So I think the weapon we're going to see in Canada, obviously air defense systems, it's focusing on the Arctic. Anti-shipping missiles are going to be the next one. Because, like, one thing that Iran is showing us, look, if Ukraine has showed us that basically warships are not as obsolete, but they're getting obsolete. But they definitely showed that tanks, yes, they're still useful, but you could have 20,000 tanks, doesn't mean you're going to win the war. You know what I mean? Fighter aircraft are limited. Look, the Russians can't fly over the Ukraine any more than the Americans can fly over Iran. Why? Air defense systems. They're still flying over, but you got to make sure that you sweep the area of air defense before you even try it, right? And the thing is that by the time the Americans will be ready to do a proper invasion of Canada, it will probably be at the point where we can defend ourselves so well anyway with just Highway 16. Yeah, it's a straight drive pretty much from New York State right to Ottawa, right? Sure, great, no problem. Now getting there alive, through the rock shield, good fucking luck. Yeah, you can send out every Apache, every drone, whatever. Yeah, you'll discover some guys with thermals, but you won't find them all. And again, how many drones are you going to lose? Like, that's the first thing we're going to take out is, again, Cobra Kai 101. You can't see, can't fight, can't breathe, can't fight. Sweep the leg. And we're going to fight dirty, right? We're going to probably use more of like an Iranian style. Okay, well, you don't go and meet your guy out in the middle of a field. If you got 100 Abrams tanks coming across the field, you take it out with artillery, you damage it, you do that. You take it out with drones, you take it out with anti-tank weapons. We could fire the Spike anti-tank weapon. It's the same thing the Americans have. They could do it to us, but the thing is your Abrams and your Bradleys and whatever coming over down the road from about 8 kilometers away, here comes this little fucking missile down on top of your tank. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have enough tanks. And then once you lose the tanks, then you're onto the armored vehicles. Well, we got 900 armored vehicles to meet you. Sure, the armored vehicles, the LAVs aren't going to really be good at taking out tanks, but they're going to take out your MRAPs. Like the 25 millimeter, and we're now building 30 millimeter. So, plus, our new LAVs 6s are going to have anti-tank weapons that can shoot over the tree line. So you got guided weaponry coming over the tree line. And out of the tree line, okay? Then you've got short range air defense. So, for example, let's say you've got a Predator drone out at 20 kilometers. That's about 12 miles out, okay? we can take it out with air defense from that distance, short range air defense, like the S-70s or the B-70 MadPad launchers. They can hit 8 kilometers out. So that's basically 5 miles out, 6 miles out, whatever. You fly over it. By the time you detect it, you're shot down. So flying A-10s at treetop level, well, you know, the 25 millimeter will get you. You know what I mean? Or the Stingers. You fly at 25,000 feet, well, the ADATs get you. You know, like, yeah, they'll bring those back into service for sure. Don't have a lot of them, but a lot of those can be repurposed and attached to the lab. That's what I think we should do with our old WW3s. Okay, start, you know, working on a new parts supply. Rather than putting them on the front line, let's take out of the 900, maybe, I know a lot of them are overseas or whatever, but let's take 260 of them, 20 per province, and put ADATs on them. Anti-tank, you know what I mean? And just start manufacturing the missiles here. Yeah, like right there. You know what I mean? We got 100 coyotes that'll see you coming with little, you know, spying at you, you know. So it's mainly the drones that are the biggest problems, right? And then, of course, just mobile mortars, you know, tubed artillery. You got thousands of those, you know, again, dug in, you know, plus we're really, everybody's trying to solve the drone problem. That's going to be solved fairly, I say within 4 years. The drone problem goes to like massive radar jamming and stuff like that. Yeah. So to do an assault on Canada, number one, it'd be bad for both populations. I still stick to, like, yes, we'd probably lose all but about 4 to 8 million people up here, but you're going to lose like 150 million people to 200 million people in the States just from the starvation and, you know, the cross-border sabotage. Look, you're going to see this stuff starting to happen fairly soon. Like, you're going to start to see, like we saw in Ukraine and Russia, where they took a domestic truck, popped the top open, and out came these fucking wire-guided drones and took out like 20% of the Russian bomber fleet. You know, that's going to happen to the Americans too. Like all these B-52s and everything, they're going to get taken out on the ground. Why? Because that's the best place to take them out. And you know, it's going to be multiple nations attacking at once. Why? Because, well, when you attack everybody else, again, this is why Trump is probably, again, I'm not making any threats, but this is why probably his own guys are going to knock him off, because it's like, okay, well, he's going to get us all killed. You know what I mean? Like once we get into like the real civil war down there in the States, at that point, like people are going to be hunting up politicians and judges and lawyers and all these people that have made all this shit and the ruling elite class that have done all this. I told you this back in 2009 when they took out Muammar Gaddafi, or 2009, 2010, that the future of Muammar Gaddafi was the future of the world elites. They're going to be killed in, you know, like all these Saudi royals and everything like that. Like, their people, like when they start starving and their children can't get water, yes, they're going to kill tourists, sure, you know, especially anybody American. But they're also going to start killing their leaders, because it's like, yeah, you know, we're suffering because of you. You know, because of this banking ruling, you know, Davos crowd class, you know what I mean? Like, people aren't going to tolerate much more. I'm not making any threats. I'm just saying I don't see how you don't see it. You know what I mean? So what I tell people is prepare wisely. Just, you know, get ready to sit out of the chaos and just try not to get killed in the crossfire, because these people are insane, right? And the normies, they're just going to react to everything. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at about that. Crazy times. I'm sure tomorrow will be even crazier, but there we go.